We started the meeting, Rachel, as I started it, or?
I'm sorry, Dennis. I just mean you're live. I know sometimes that mute button on Zoom and the conversations on the phone. FYI, everyone can hear everything. That's all. Good morning, Dennis.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to start with the environmental concerns. I'm going to open that meeting. Before we accept the minutes, I want to thank Claude for her service here as the chair. And she's done a great job. And she's got us where we are, and I really appreciate it. And I'm happy that she has agreed to serve as the vice chair. With that, thank you, Claudia. With that, I would like to ask that we approve the minutes from the last meeting. Somebody want to make that motion? Peter?
I'll make the motion, Dennis. Yes.
Yep. Thank you, Peter. A second?
I'll second. Shepler.
Great. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. You carried the ball there, Peter. Motion's carried. I'm going to move to the agenda, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you before, Claudia, but I'm going to have you address the agenda where you are with it now. And then we'll pick up the ball next month and carry on, if you don't mind.
I couldn't hear.
Claudia?
Does he want me to start on the real property agenda?
No, environmental concerns. He wanted you to address where you were at with this, but then he was going to pick up the rest, he said, next month.
Okay. Thanks, Dennis. On the environmental portion of the agenda, we still have as a pending item the septic inspection at transfer law. And I had asked Lexi prior to your appointment as chair to include in our agenda packet the letter that came out from the Lake Association groups urging the governor to move forward with the septic inspection program for the entire lake-wide basin, Lake George Basin. I included that there for people's reference to see that there is a continued advocacy effort on the part of our communities to, in particular, combat the harmful algal blooms that we experienced in the fall. And I know Robert Terwilliger has taken a little bit of a look at our proposed language, and we were hopeful that we could have some additional input. But so far that hasn't happened from the communities. I don't know where you want to go, Dennis. I know that you were, I would like to think that I could get your support because it will improve the water quality of Lake George. And we had talked about amending the law to make it so that municipalities could opt out. And that is in the language there. So I would like to see it go forward, but obviously you're chair and I'm only one vote on the committee.
Claude, with the inclusion of the option to opt out, I am totally in support of your motion, and it is a great step in the right direction. There are a lot of towns on the lake that are not as well organized, nor have the monetary ability to do what some of us can do to protect the lake. So this is a good thing. It's an obligation on the owners who live on the lake to keep the lake clean. And this is one way to assure that they will do that. So yes, it has my support.
That's great. Thank you, Dennis.
Well,
Maybe Robert is here. Robert, do you think this is okay to move it forward for a vote for a public hearing?
I was thinking, maybe we could bat around some of the language a little more on it and get it really worked out good, so that we have something when you do want to put it forward, you've got something that's really, really good and ready to go at that point. Right now, I think we're still kind of in the drafting and figuring out what we want to put in and that. I mean, I'm happy to put in whatever you want. That's not my decision. I'm I'm just trying to come up with the mechanics of how to word it properly.
Okay, I mean, I think it's pretty close, but maybe we bring it back next month and then I would ask Lexi to prepare a resolution that we set it for a public hearing, which wouldn't be until like the March meeting,
Okay.
board meeting.
Who are you talking to, Claudia?
I'm talking to you.
No, before me. Who was that was responding to your
Oh, that
request
was
about?
Mr. Attorney Terwilliger.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. We shall do that.
Thanks, Dennis.
You have anything else? Anything else for
Nope,
environmental concerns?
not at this time.
Okay. Does anybody else on the committee have anything they want to discuss? Anybody in the peanut gallery have anything they want to? Don, I guess I'm down to you. Is there anybody comment online? Is
Hi,
that-
Chairman Dixon. Nothing on YouTube.
Great. I would entertain a motion to close the environmental concerns portion of this.
You don't need to close, you can move right into real property.
Somebody want to make that motion? Okay.
Dennis, Amanda said we can
Yeah,
just
she-
move right over.
Yeah, I heard her. She's the chief.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Dennis.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you well. Okay, we're going to move into real property. I have had conversations with Alexi and some emails from Claudia. At this point, I would like to turn this over to Lexi to give us an update on the Mullins property.
Thanks, Dennis.
You're
Um,
welcome.
So Mullins is turning into the ongoing project, it seems like for me. Claudia or Supervisor Bramer on Friday brought information to the board to make you aware that the contracting company wanted to amend the variance that we had with New York State Department of Labor. And with that go ahead, we moved forward with that, submitted that, and the Department of Labor has approved that. And at this point, anything that is RACM, which is regulated asbestos containing material, needs to be removed first. And then everything left standing can be washed and cleaned, as well as all the steel and large brick and block that are on site. I do have some email exchanges through some of the contracting people in Bronze, a Thomas Bronson, which is the owner of, or vice president of Bronze Contracting. And he has in an email stated that they are willing to pay the additional $960 for the Atlantic testing to write and submit the amendment for the variance to the state on their behalf. Our county attorney's office is aware of that, and I know that Robert Terwilliger has been working on amending the contract that we have with them to be able to include those costs. I don't know how the committee feels about the other added fees, because in our original variance that we submitted with the state, we included that there would be a project monitor on site all days that this project was going on. So there is additional cost to that. I know Supervisor Bramer had discussed that briefly at the board meeting on Friday. That cost at that time was only for an additional 3 days, and that additional fees for those 3 days for the county's portion would be $1,986. As of this morning, I was on site, and they are not even close to having this project completed by the end of tomorrow. The end of tomorrow would be the end of the additional 3 days. I would like to suggest, it's my suggestion, at least another 6 days on top of that 3 days, to try to make sure everything is finalized. That additional 6 days would put us through Friday of next week. Because tomorrow is the last day, and then Friday would be the first day of the additional 6 days, which would be a cost, another added cost of $3,576, which puts us to $5,562 for a total of 9 days of the monitoring. That does get us an additional half day of the project manager as well. But there is additional testing fees, which are, they take 10 air samples a day, and that stuff has to go to the labs. We're also paying for the cost of a generator for them to run to be able to get all of these samples included. I can't guarantee you that this is going to be enough time or money to complete the project, because I reached out to Bronze Contracting and asked them if they could give me a timeline of when they felt they would be complete. And their answer to me is that it is really hard to give a certain number of days with the various factors in play. You know, it's hard. When we bid this job, it was back in January of last year, January or February, and it was proposed to do this work in the warmer days. We're now in January with 20-degree days or weather and temperature in the teens, which makes it hard, you know, when you're running heavy equipment.
Stop being on the phone. I give a chance. You give Tony a chance. 518-796-4714. Thanks.
I did state to you the $5,562. That does not include the $960 for the cost of the variance amendment that Bronze had said that they would agree to that. But I'm wondering if the county should not consider that, because those charges are posed to us from ATL. I just don't know what it's going to be like getting that extra $960 back from Bronze. So I don't know if we would want to add that $960 into the resolution to move money from the reserve testing fund, because if not, I don't have the money to pay.
I'm confused. I'm sorry. I thought that Bronze was paying for everything.
No, Bronze has never agreed to pay for any of these additional costs except for the $960 to amend the variance. Because as stated from the county, when we did the original variance, it was us that are requesting to have those project monitors on site to make sure everything's going out of there the way that it's supposed to. Bronze is telling me they don't feel that we need those monitors there. So it really comes down to, does the county want to know where this stuff is going and that it is going out properly to the proper landfills? Because if we don't have somebody on site monitoring this, they could take it to wherever they want. And then there would have been no amendment to the variance needed, because they could have just done what they wanted. The monitoring company is the one that's holding them to doing things properly and by the scope of work from the bid and from the variance that was filed with Department of Labor.
But when they bid on the project, they understood that that was part of the deal, that this was going to be monitored, isn't that? I thought that the initial RFP and their response to the RFP indicating that they were going to assume certain costs means that they assume those costs.
Is that Ryan speaking?
Yes, it is, Dennis.
Okay. It seems to me that we've gotten ourselves in a very difficult situation with this contractor. I think not having a daily inspector on the county's part was a county fault. We should have anticipated doing that, especially when you're dealing with hazardous materials. You need somebody who's accountable so that you don't get yourself in a situation where there's an issue and you haven't done due diligence. On the other hand, I don't know about the time frame, why we missed the whole summer.
No, Dennis, can I jump in?
He's frozen.
I want to jump in since he's frozen. Remember, we couldn't start on anything because COVID stopped the whole foreclosure process. We didn't even own the building yet.
Correct.
So then when we finally did own it, that was in the fall, they got started. There was a little bit of a delay about National Grid, which I won't get into. I mean, I think everyone was working diligently. So National Grid cut the power, the gas, all of that. They couldn't get started until whenever they did. What the problem we are encountering now is that it is taking them longer than we anticipated. I think they said originally that they could complete this in 10 days. Okay, so we have the contractors on site protecting our interests. Dennis, we're doing everything we should there. What I tried to argue, and Robert did write them a letter saying that because they are taking the extra days to deal with this material, that they should have to be responsible for all of those costs from our consultant ATL. And my understanding is Bronze has not agreed to pay for that. And we didn't want to not have ATL on site. So we are continuing to have ATL on site. It's just a matter of who's going to pay for that. Is it going to be the county or is it going to be Bronze because they're taking longer?
I assume we have monies they expect to be paid. We certainly can, if they stall to the end, be able to negotiate with them to pay those fees. Is that correct?
Well, that's what I would like to see, Dennis, is that we hold back some of the money that we have to pay them. We're supposed to pay them $78,000 or whatever it is, $72,000, and I would like to see us hold back some of that money. But you know, this was kind of, me working with Lexi last week saying, let's not hold up the demolition while we work out who pays the costs, because everyone wanted to have it come down.
Well, I think and I assume Mr. Terwilliger's letter to him is certainly good notice. I think we should follow it up and indicate what we're intending to do.
If I may, can I read some of their email to me?
I don't think we should.
Okay.
Sure, Lexi.
Is that a yes or a no? Was that a yes or a no, Dennis?
That was a yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. So they are saying that for scheduling and duration purposes, our means and methods and scope hasn't changed. We do not believe there will be additional days of monitoring due to the approval of this amendment, being that was our approach and intention at the time the estimated schedule was provided. There are other unanticipated factors that have caused the project to go slower outside of our control. The project going slower has an equally negative impact on Bronze as it does for the county. If we were paid by the day or the TIA, not that that matters. So, I mean, it would be great if they'll cover it. My only concern is when the bill comes in, we have X number of days to pay with our contract that DPW has with ATL. And if we don't move the money, it would mean going back to committee again if we had to ask to move the money, which would then mean it would have to go to the next board meeting before it's approved. And then you're running over. I'm asking to move the money as
ATL is Atlantic Testing.
Correct.
I would agree, Lexi. ATL is a separate entity that we, the county, have employed to do this. But I think that any additional funds that we give them due to the delays is a responsibility of the contractor. So again, we have money that we owe the contractor. We should be in a good position to work out some settlement with them. It's always good to have their money. Robert, you have any comment to that?
I'm happy to work on whatever you decide that way. My initial conversation with Tom Bronson back well over a week ago, and he's had subsequent conversations with Lexi since then, was that they would be reluctantly willing to pay the cost for the amendment and for 3 days of monitoring, though he was adamant in saying that they didn't believe monitoring was necessary, that they would be able to take down these materials that are left, that it almost completely likely there was no contamination in them, or the contamination that was there would be able to be cleaned up easily on site, and that's what's left would be able to be used for fill or disposed of in ways that doesn't require it going to the special landfills for it to be where it would have to go as asbestos containing material. Since then, he's had conversations with Lexi, and it sounds like he's backed out of paying for anything other than just the cost for submitting that amendment petition, the petition to get the variance amended, the $960.
I have some real apprehension here about going too far with this. I really think that they have some. There's no way they can get out of the testing unless Atlantic Testing tells us there's no more asbestos. If they tell us there's no more asbestos and the material that is left is clean, then obviously you don't need somebody there testing on a day-to-day basis for asbestos. Without that, we need somebody there every day. Go ahead,
Okay.
Lexi. Is that you?
Yes. So there is piles on site of steel beams. I mean, huge steel I-beams that have come down. There is lots of metal from the metal building that was on the back portion, and there are large portions of block that are still there. None of these materials have been washed or cleaned yet. So in order for them to leave the site, if they want to take them to a different location or take them out of there per this amended variance, they all have to be washed and cleaned. In order for that to happen, there has to be a monitor on site to inspect those materials after they say they've washed and cleaned them. Because if there's not, then they have to be told that they're not clean, and they either have to re-clean or they have to separate.
We need to draft up a letter stating the issues and making our point known that we expect them to pay. We need to put it in writing. We need to do it now and see if we can come to some resolution for this.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's something that our county attorney's office will work on. And and so then I want to just go back to my resolution. Do we want to put in to move this money so that we, as in the county, doesn't end up with a problem when we are billed by ATL? Should we not have the money moved into my contract budget from the reserve fund to be able to pay them? And then we work separately on trying to gain the money from Bronze Contracting.
Definitely, we need to pay Atlantic. They've done doing their work, have done and are doing it. We need to pay them in a timely manner. Is that the $1,986?
No, that's only a small portion. It would.
You're talking about the 7,562?
It would be 6,000. It would end up coming to, if we included the cost for the amended variance, it would be $6,522.
But the amended variance is a bill to us.
It would be, exactly. So that's why I feel we need to include that $960 in that amount of money that we move over, So the amount of money that would need to be moved from the reserve testing fund to the real property contract budget would be $6,522.
Got it, Lexi. Thank you. Does somebody want to make that motion?
Claudia's waving her hand.
Yeah, I'll be happy to second it.
Oh, I can't see anything. It says Zoom on my screen. So
Claudia was your first and
Claudia
Kaiser McDevitt was your second.
Peter, okay, we got a first and second. Is there any further discussion?
Chairman,
Peter, you good with this?
Chairman,
Yes.
thank you, Dennis. I am totally fine with moving this money over so that Lexi has it to pay ATL. I want to also support your suggestion that the county attorney send a letter saying that it's our position that Bronze needs to pay for these additional costs. I'd like to get the consensus of the committee, if you agree, that everyone on the committee is on board with that.
Sure.
Let's do a second motion, Claudia. Let's get this one out of the way and then we'll do your motion next. Unless you want to revise this motion. Is that what you want to do? Revise this
No,
motion?
I think you're right. We should make this clean, the money move, yeah.
Okay. So we got a motion on the floor to move over $6,522. If there's no further comments, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Dennis, can I jump in and make a quick comment first?
Yes.
I'm sorry. This figure is with the extra days, which just puts us just till Friday of next week. They may end sooner or they may end up taking longer, but that's just kind of like what I'm projecting out based on what things are on site. So I just want you all to be aware of that before you vote.
Okay. Do you want a not to exceed number, or are you just talking about coming back and doing whatever's additional?
I guess we'd have to, I was thinking about coming back if there was anything additional needed.
Okay, let's do that. That's not a problem. So we're all set. I call the question. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion's carried. Claudia, you want to make your motion?
Dennis, I'm not sure it needs to be a motion.
Um,
Sure,
Okay.
I can make one if that's what you like.
Well, put a proposal in front of us and then I'll do a head count and see how everybody feels.
Did he say to make a motion?
He said to
No,
put a
he's
proposal.
on the head count. He's counting the heads now.
Well,
No, he said put a proposal in front of him.
okay. So, right. State what you want to do, Claudia.
I just wanted to hear if it's a consensus of the committee that we send a letter telling Bronze we want them all to pay. But
Great.
that all of us want them to pay the additional costs.
Okay. Peter, how do you
Anyone
feel?
opposed to that?
Sure, I'm happy to go along with that. That's fine.
Excellent. Who else do we have here?
You've got Supervisor Shepler in the room.
Oh, I'm sorry. How do you feel about this?
Question?
She has a question, Dennis.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
Do we know what the basis of these most recent delays are and what would cause them to have continual delays going forward?
Speak to that, Dennis.
Yeah, go ahead, Claudia. I mean, Lex.
There was just, I guess, delay after delay, I guess maybe communication, because Bronze Contracting, I think, assumed when they submitted their bid that they could just amend the variance on their own and take it out of there the way they wanted to. However, the variance is our variance. We had ATL working for us. They submitted the variance to the Department of Labor. Bronze could not move forward and just amend a variance all on their own for a job that they are just the contractor on. So everything had to go through the county for this to happen. So then we had to ask ATL to be able to amend that variance to submit to the state to get additional, the way that the project or the materials were going to be able to go out of there. Their biggest concern was the cost of the block. They had sent us a change order notice saying if they couldn't amend the variance, they wanted to charge the county an additional $58,000 to be able to take the material out of there differently. I told them absolutely not, that we wouldn't agree to that change order notice because they had submitted a bid based on the scope of work that was in the bid packet and the variance that was also attached to the bid packet. They made some assumptions when they did this bid that they should not have made. So that again came back to slow everything down.
That's the crux of the matter. Like you are spot on. They assume things that they never should have assumed, and that's how they got themselves in all this trouble. So that's my point, in that we should stick to our guns, and it's their obligation to pay these additional costs. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are you in favor of this?
I'm in Claudia's proposal. I'm in favor of Claudia's proposal, yes.
Great, okay. So Claudia, we will do that post haste, and we'll see where it goes. Anything else for the committee? Claudia, you have anything else?
No, Dennis.
Does anybody else on the committee have anything they want to add? Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak?
Brad McGowan.
Don?
Hello, Chairman Dickinson. Nothing on YouTube as of now.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Dennis,
Yes.
Brad McGowan
Yes.
would like to speak.
Okay, Brad.
Just want to go on the record and say, nah, I told y'all so. This project unfortunately is going to cost more than we anticipated. It's a difficult project, and understanding the movements of demolition and everything. And, unfortunately, there was a lot of things that, you really can't see, deep down. So, moving forward and getting this out and getting it out safely and making sure that the county's protected, I think should be our main concerns right now. So thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome, Brad. And we are, I've been dealing with contractors all my professional life, Brad. So I understand these things, but I still am adamant it's their responsibility.
No, and I agree with you, and I'm following what you're saying, and I respect that. So, get the money over to pay at least the company. I think was a good move, and then we'll haggle this out or haggle it out there.
Ability to. Okay. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
Peter, second.
Second, Scheffler.
Second, Supervisor Scheffler. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. And thank you. I'd like to thank you, Alexi, especially. You've done an